This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Shalom Aleichem, good morning, welcome to our viewers on Torah Anytime. I want to dedicate this year for the Atzlacha of Ben Zion Ben Dosa, him and his family. And Baruch Hashem, again a Mazel Tov, a new Sefer, Baruch Hashem, this is the 36th Sefer B'Siyata Dishmaya. So you say, Shechianu v'kimanu v'gianu l'zman hazeh. This Sefer is called V'halachta B'drachav. What is this Sefer about? Chazal tell us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mekayim all the mitzvahs of the Torah. So if we find those mitzvahs that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mekayim, and we fulfill them as well, it comes out that it's two for the price of one. First of all, you did what they told you. You did the mitzvah, whatever it is. You did exactly what you were told. But you're also fulfilling another mitzvah, and that is the 8th positive mitzvah in the count of the Rambam, V'halachta b'drachav. Walk in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ways, emulate him. So if you see he is fulfilling the mitzvah, and you are fulfilling the mitzvahs as well, you're mekayim a mitzvah esed deoraisa, on top of the existing mitzvah. So I found hundreds of mitzvahs, deoraisa, derabanon. Even minhagim HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mekayim. Hanhagos tovos, that we are supposed to be doing as well. So anytime you do that, you have a two for the price of one. On the other hand, there's a whole chapter dedicated to this. It seems that there's all kinds of steers, contradictions to this statement that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mekayim is Torah. We find many things that seemingly it's against halacha. How is it possible? So we have all kinds of answers from Rishonim and from Achroinim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu in fact fulfills his own Torah and everything is perfect. This is what this Sefer is all about. V'halachta b'drachav. It should be l'to'eles. I want to thank anybody who was involved. Producing a sefer is a very, very big project. V'halachta b'drachav. Walk in his ways. Producing a sefer is a big to-do. It's a big project of everyone who was involved. And Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu will shower you with abundance from above in both Ruchnius and in Gashmius.
Amen. Mazel tov.
Shekoyach.
It's in Ivrit.
Yeah. The one who blesses should be blessed with double. Maseret Soita Daf Lamed Daled Amud Beis. We learned that Kalev went to Kivrei Avos. He went to Ma'aseh Machpelah to daven for his success. So this gives us a chance to speak about a common minhag, a very common practice that people do when they go to a cemetery. They place a stone on the kever. Where is this minhag from? Is it a good idea? How do you do this exactly? So the first one to introduce this minhag, to tell us about us, is the Maharshal. So this carries a lot of weight. The Eli Rabbah in Orach Chaim Reish Chaf Daled brings him. The Bayer Heitev over there brings him as well. The Kitzur Shla brings this as well. The Kaf HaChaim brings him as well as the Yosef Omet. But what's the reason? So we find many reasons. Most people want to say the reason is because we didn't forget you. As opposed to the Goyishim minhag to put flowers that decay after a few days or a week. The stone is there. In other words, we are always in our hearts. And this is to show we came to the grave and we didn't forget the nifta. But others explain differently. A stone is permanent. It's something which is lasting and it's strong. And that is how our emuna in Tchiyas HaMeisim is permanent. It's lasting. It's not something that today we believe in this and tomorrow we believe in that. It's permanent. And Chalila, to despair of this belief, because the Pasuk says, Even ma'asu aboidim, that in itself, Haisa lerosh pina, and therefore again it refers to the Even, to the stone. Others explain, Even, a stone, has a numerical value of Aleph, Beis, Nun, 53. 53 is Gan, and that refers to our Emunah, and that alludes to the Menucha, the resting place of the Nifta, who is in Gan, in the Gan of Eden. Shaos Juvis Rivevos Ephraim, my Rebbe Zatzal, Rebbe Ephraim Grimlet Zatzal, and Chelek Ches Simen Nun Aleph discusses this as well, and he says something a totally different angle. He says a lot of people come, and everybody places a stone there, and that will hide what's written on the kever. And that's exactly why we're doing it. Because in Horius Yud Gimel Amud Beis it says that if one reads what it says on the gravestone, it can actually cause him to forget all his Torah. So we're interested in people piling up those stones and hiding what is written there, mimele, so you're not going to forget your Torah. What's the nafkamina based on this reason? The nafkamina based on this is that as soon as you come, you should place a stone. Most people do it when they leave. So according to this reason, And in fact, the Yosef Ometz, Lachida, writes that that's the right reason, that's the right way to do things. When you get there, you put the stone. Normally, most people, what they do is like the Maharshal, we didn't forget you, so when you leave, you place the stone there.
Is there a reason why looking at a mitzvah's letters is negat?
Why is it? Gemara, Mishnah, and Horios, Yud Gimel Amud Beis, we don't understand these Segula matters, how it works. It depends if the writing is protrudes out of the grave, out of the stone or not. But why does it work like that? We don't know.
There also would be the fact that if it's written flat on the...
So there's no reason to.
That's right, as opposed to...
Right, but for maybe just a lo plug type of a thing to prevent, in those cases where it is shayach, so we don't want people to forget their Torah, so we have a all-inclusive minhag forever, wherever you go. Maybe.
Engraved, it's okay?
What's that?
If it's engraved?
Yeah, it depends if it's engraved or it protrudes. But again, we have many, many reasons. You can take this reason and apply it. I don't think most places, anyway, it piles up. It depends how popular the person was and how often they clean the place.
There's a ledge on the edge, at the edge of the cave. So a lot of people put the stones on the ledge, not on top of the cave. Now, should the repair people, if they come to clean it, should they knock off all the stones that are there?
No need. No need.
And I said nowadays that the otiyot are inside, so there's no chashash, you can read it?
Lichoya.
Why is it sometimes the words on there explain about that person?
Right.
What you want to know about that person from the words that that's written on the kever?
You want to know, you want to forget your Torah. What has more weight?
But who's to say that you get Torah, guys?
Oh yes, Yud Gimel Amud Beis. So Gemara carries a lot of weight.
Why does it cause you to forget the Torah?
We don't know because that's what Chazal say. Chazal give all kinds of segulos there. How to remember Torah and things which are potential dangerous and can cause you to forget. Why it works like that? We don't know.
We already forgot once when they...
I know a sefer about it. With more than 400 segulos, how to increase brain power and decrease our forgetfulness. The only problem is I don't remember where I placed it.
We already forgot our Torah once when the angel touches our lips.
So you want to happen again? Chas v'sholom. You're going to have a chazaka against you according to Rebbe Yehuda.
The person worked the whole lifetime to remember it.
Good. So the last thing you want to do is, that's why you have to be very, very careful. Chazal say, haragil bezeisim, over there it says. Oh no, it's a custom. He eats olives on a regular basis. He can forget his Torah. Would you like to forget your Torah?
You can't read or you can't look at the words.
Read them.
But you can look
Very hard, I think, to look without reading.
in your mind without verbalizing it. I'm asking.
Reading. It doesn't say verbalize, it doesn't say just scanning it, but trying to read it. This is a language of Chazal. You can't argue with Chazal. Can you explain to me why if you eat olives on a regular basis, you can forget your Torah? Olive oil can bring back a learning even from 70 years ago. Same daf over there. Yud Gimel Amud Beis in Hoyos. Many interesting things. Segulos, we don't understand how they work, but we want to be careful that Chalila, they don't harm us, and we want to utilize those which can benefit us.
So the famous rabbi simply write things on the kever, like famous rabbi Avielay, he wrote the promise that people help publish his books, in seed for them.
And therefore,
But that's written on the kever. Obviously, they wanted people to read it.
there's no issue to read it if it's not protruding. It depends how it's written on the stone.
Did Kala leave a stone? Do we know he left a stone?
What's that?
Did Kala leave a stone when he went to the others?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Is paint protruding or
אין בו משהו, זה נפקא מינה, you see it from Hilchos Netilas Yadayim. Is it considered a chatzitza or not? If there's no mamashus on it, it doesn't provide chatzitza. More reasons. The one who has departed, he didn't come from nowhere and just leave. Evan is Rashi Tevois. Av, Ben, Neched, or Nin. And if it's on the female side, it's Em, Bat, Nechda, or Nina. In other words, we are continuing, and hopefully he left a heritage, and his descendants will continue. The Evan, the stone, also symbolizes accepting Din Shamayim Be'ahava. Why is that? The Neshama, which is a Chelek Eloika Mimal, it's a spark from the heavenly throne, goes back to Tzur Machzavta. Tzur is also a stone, the big rock. In other words, a little stone is coming from the big rock, as the Pasuk says in Tehillim, Hashem Sal'i u'metzudasi. It appears in Shmuel and it appears in Tehillim as well. Kodesh Baruch Hu is my rock. And the stone now returns to, the neshama goes back to HaKodesh Baruch Hu. Similarly, in Parshas Azinu, Dvarim, Lamed Beis, Pasuk Dalet, the Pasuk says, Hatzur Tamim Poyalo. Hatzur, HaKodesh Baruch Hu is referred to here as a rock, referring to the Mishpat, because the Pasuk says, Ki kol drachav Mishpat, Kel emuna ve'en avel, Tzadik ve'yashar hu. HaKodesh Baruch Hu is just. His ways are just. The Din Shemayim is perfect. So when we put the stone, which refers to HaKodesh Baruch Hu's dinim, that symbolizes accepting din shamayim be'ava. More than that, a stone is a symbol for building. You build with stones. And with that we say to the one who has departed, what you started building, Emet Hashem, we will continue. The lessons, the life lessons that you have learned from you, your legacy, we will take that and we will apply that and we'll continue to build in your footsteps. Chazal use a language for stones, tzroiros, Baba Kama, Yudzain, tzroiros. So this is a remes for the hope that the niftar's soul, his neshama, is tzrura b'tzror hachayim, and that's why Dafka we put a stone. The Sefer Yitzchak Yeranen, he goes against this minhag and he wants to reject it. He says, why are you putting a stone? In Eidios, Perek Hey, Mishnah Vav, we learned that a person, if he died while he was in Nidui, you take stone, while he was excommunicated in Nidui, you do skila on his grave. You go there and you throw stones because he was benidui. So if you're putting a stone, it's derogatory. It's a disgrace of the niftar. You're thinking you're giving him honor. What are you doing? And therefore he wants to reject it. And I think his rejection has to be rejected. Because this is not a big chiddush, what he's telling us from Eidios. The Maharshal didn't know this Mishnah. The Yosef Omes, the Kitzu Ashla, the Baya Heitev, all those who brought the Elia Rabbi, everybody knows this. Obviously, they didn't think that this is considered bizayon, and more than that. Why is it not considered bizayon? Because that stone that you throw on the person who died while he was in Nidui, it says in Chazal, it was a load that two people have to carry. And you have to do it in front of a lot of people. It's not nogea to us. The person comes by himself, he takes a tiny little stone, he puts it there, nobody watches. It's not a problem. And the opposite of what the Yitzchak Yeraden wants to say, that it's a bizayon to the niftar, the opposite, it's a kavod. Because one of the reasons to put the stone is just like the broken luchos were placed in the aron, shivrei luchos munachos ba'aron. So too we say this stone symbolizes the shivrei luchos, the Torah that the niftar has, and it's in the aron, it's in the coffin as if, so it's not a bizayon, it's a kavod. Just like the shivrei luchos are placed in the aron, so too you are placed in the aron. So exactly the opposite. It's interesting that the Mekubal, Reb Salman Mutzafi Zatzal, in the Akdamat Sefer Siftei Tzadik, he brings Al Pi Kabbalah, that when you come to visit the grave, you put the stone as soon as you come in. And when you leave, you have to take it with you. Not the minhag of the world. He brings it Al Pi Kabbalah. I don't think the world practices it, but interesting to note. Abu Isai, we just daven here, Shachris. I don't know, I wasn't here. How many people were here for minyan? I don't know. But what's the minimal that you need in order to have a minyan? 10. Who told you?
From the
Meraglim, what about them? And therefore, they davened Shachris before they embarked on their mission? Eida toch toch. It's a double Gezeira Shava. In Sanhedrin Daf Beis, we learn, Minayin le'eda shehi asara. How do you know an Eida, congregation, is considered by 10 men? Shene'emar ad masai la'eda hara'a hazos. And this bad congregation was only 10 people, because Yeshua and Kalev are not counted within the bad Eida. So we know a congregation is Eida. And in Megillah Chav Gimel Amud Beis is another Gzeira Shava. How do you know a minyan has to be formed by 10 people? Because the Pasuk says, V'nikidashti b'toch b'nei Yisrael. And the Pasuk says, regarding this Eida, hibadlu mitoch ha'Eida. And therefore Eida, toch, a double Gzeira Shava. And we know a minyan has to be formed by 10 people. Great. The only little problem is Tosfos. Tosfos in Soita Lamedalet Amud Aleph brings a Yerushalmi. So the problem just became a little bigger. It was a problem from the Tosfos, not the Tosfos, the Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi brings that according to Rabbi Akiva, there were not 12 Meraglim. This whole calculation that there were 12 take out 2, the tzaddikim, and you have a congregation of 10, and from there you know a minyan is made out of 10. But Rabbi Akiva maintains that there were 24 meraglim. That's why the pasuk is double in the pasuk. Ish lamate, from each shevet, 2 people. 12 tribes, 2 people from each shevet, that's 24 meraglim. According to Rabbi Akiva, how many people are you going to need in a minyan? It doesn't work.
But the Torah says the names.
The Torah says the names.
So where does it
And why does the Torah say ish? You want to argue with Rabbi Akiva?
No, I'm asking how.
Rabbi Akiva says, why does the Torah say double language? Ish. Because these people who are named are very important ones. The others were the Gabbai, the other less important, but there are still 24 ish lamate. Why do you have to double up? The Torah doesn't like to waste words. Ink is very expensive these days. You should say ish lamate.
Why can't we say that? According to the Rabbi Akiva, it's 24 people in minyan.
Oh, that's a chiddush that nobody ever heard of.
Rabbi Akiva-
That would be great if you have some kind of a source. Rabbi Akiva says, by the way, I disagree with that Gzera Shava. You're wrong. A minyan has to be formed by 24. Can be 24. You got to take 2 out. That's tzaddikim. So 22. A new minyan. If you don't have 22, you have a problem. Can't have it. Can it be? Of course not. We know a minyan is made out of 10. Because over there in the Gemara in Megillah, we don't hear Rabbi Akiva getting up and says, no. You got it all wrong. Houston, we have a problem. It doesn't bother you. You're not shocked.
Who's the 8 that were, who were the,
No?
who was the 10 that were named? The other 10 or 12, we don't know their names and they weren't involved.
Oh. So the Sholu Meishiv, in Gilu Nashas, writes that in fact, this limud doesn't go according to Rabbi Akiva. Because in Yerushalmi, in Brochos, Perek Zayin Aloha Gimel, there's a whole different limud, how we know that you need to have 10 men. We in Bavli understand it's Eida, Toch, great, but Yerushalmi brings a different. V'nigdashti betoch bnei Yisrael, and regarding the sons of Yaakov it says, Vayavohu bnei Yisrael lishbor bar betoch habayim, toch, they were 10, and toch, Gzera Shava, and that's how we know. I mean, why do you need a new limud if you have the one very familiar with from Bavli? Because according to Rabbi Akiva, that one doesn't work. That's why the Yerushalmi had to bring a different limud. That's what the Sholem Meishu says. Others say, Eida are the important ones. The Torah meant those important ones and not those secondary, the Gabaim or whatever you want to call them. Mimele, the limud of the Bavli works, even according to Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says there were 24. But when the Torah refers to the Eidah, it's to those who were important, those who were named. Reb Shteiman Zatzal, he explained. In Eruvin Daf Vav Amud Aleph we learn, the Tosfos over there learns, the Gemara learns, that Rishus Harabim asked what constitutes Rishus Harabim? Shishim Ribo, 600,000 men, like the people in the Midbar. Because that's where we learn from all the halachos. But wait a second, there are much more than 600,000.
3 million.
What about women? What about little kids? What about old men, more than 60? Many more. There are millions. Why are you saying about 600,000? Answer the Tosfos. We only learn from what it says in the Pasuk. The Pasuk says 600,000, even though I know there were more, but I'm learning only from what it says. Maybe the same thing will apply here. The Pasuk says the names of the 12 who went. I'm taking out the 2 tzaddikim and I'm left with 10, even though Lemaisa there were more. According to Rabbi Akiva, there were 24, but we're excluding them. We're only looking at what it says in the Torah, the names. Of Shteiman.
What about Shevet Levi?
What about Shevet Levi?
Another 22,000, another several thousand.
The Torah says there were 600,000. So that's what we require for an Eruv. Not to say that there were many more. There are many more. There are millions more. But when the Torah says Klal Yisrael's number was this number, that's what we're learning from.
600,000 plus Shevet Levi, which was
Another 22,000?
Well, that was only the people between 30 and. There's more Shevet Levi.
There's more all over Klal Yisrael as well. But we don't care about those people who are not mentioned in the Torah. We only care about those people who are counted. We count the men between 20 to 60. The Torah says 600,000. Not to say that there weren't more than that in Klal Yisrael. There are many more. There's Erev Rav and there's many people. But we only look at what it says regarding the number.
They were also in the Rishus Rabbim, the Shevet Levi, they're counted. Their number is said in the Torah.
What's their number? It's insignificant when you talk. It's not 100, another 200,000. It's just 22,000. How many people? And why were there so few numbers? Why were there so few numbers? Comes the Ramban, Bamidbar. And he says, all the Shvatim, Kasher Ya'anu Oto Ken Yifotz. They were enslaved. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu rewarded them. They wanted to stop them, and they tortured them to kill them, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu increased them in numbers. But Shevet Levi were not enslaved. They didn't have this reward, so there's no reason for them to have this unbelievable number of Klal Yisrael. Every single woman in Klal Yisrael, beginning of Shmois. Paru vayishutzu vayarbu vayatzum mod imod. Each one gave birth to 6 kids in one shot, not Shevet Levi. Shevet Levi were not enslaved, so there's no reason for this unbelievableness. Based on this, I'm sorry?
I'm wondering why Moshe Rabbeinu didn't do the same as Yeshua. Yeshua sent 2 spies. He was told to send out spies, but the number was not specified, was it, in the past? He wasn't told to send out 12.
So why did he specifically send 12?
Why did he send? Yeshua sent 2, right?
L'choira representing all of Klal Yisrael. The question L'choira should be on Yeshua, not on Moshe. Why don't you copy your Rebbe? Why don't you send 12? It makes sense to send a representative of each Shevet. Eretz Yisrael will be divided into 12 tribes that will come in, so send a representative from each Shevet. Maybe Yeshua learned, Lemaisi, you only need 2 tzaddikim, you don't need 12. It can go bad, so take only 2 tzaddikim. Another answer from the Chassam Sofer, which this has a tremendous chizuk, a message to every generation, but a great chizuk. The Chassam Sofer answers with a question. He has to prove that he's Jewish, so first he asks a question. Rashi says that only Caleb and Yeshua said the benefits and the merits and the milos of Eretz Yisrael. So the Ramban asks, wait a second, so why is there a taina on Klal Yisrael that you only listened to the Meraglim, not Yeshua and Caleb? Why shouldn't they? Yeshua and Caleb are 2. The Meraglim are 10. Why listen to Yeshua and Caleb? A good taina? The answer is, because according to Rebbe Kiva, that there are actually 24 Meraglim, and 10 are wicked. So when you take out 10 out of 24, how many do you have? 14 good ones, and only 10 wicked ones. Klal Yisrael had to listen to the other side. It's not only Yeshua and Caleb. It's 10 people who are saying Lashon Hara B'Eretz Yisrael. So normally we should follow the majority. There is no majority here. The majority here are the good ones. There's 24. 10 are wicked ones. They're mentioned. Take them out. Don't listen to them, because you have 14 others who are saying the value, the malus of Klal Yisrael. Fine. Therefore, and why did all these Nisim, the 10, said all negative words about Eretz Yisrael? The Zohar says because they were afraid when they come in to Eretz Yisrael, we're not going to need them anymore, because now we're going to appoint a king, and you as a president, as a prince of each Shevet, are not going to be needed anymore. Great. So when the pasuk says Eida Hara, this bad congregation, it refers only to the 10. You left with 14 Klal Yisrael. There is a time on them because they should have listened to the majority opinion, to the 14 against 10. But even according to that, according to the Yerushalmi Rebbe Kiva, that there are 24 Meraglim, still hard to understand. Those mentioned in names are more chashuv. Why didn't you not mention all the others, all the other 12? Because they're not secondary. The people who are Anashim, Ksherim, Chashuvi are mentioned in names, so you should listen to them. Chassam Sofer, based on this, explains a major yesod in how Achrei Rabim Lehatos works. We go after the majority opinion. If it wasn't for the Torah's decree that you have to go after the majority, you would have to listen to the most important ones, to the big ones. Like in Bab Metzia Nun Ches, with Tanuro Shel Achnai, Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenus. He argues with all Klal Yisrael. We should listen to him. Because in Maseches Avos it says that if everybody is, all Chachamim are on one side of the scale, and Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenus, Machriya es kulam, he has more weight, so we should listen to him. But it doesn't work like that. The Torah says no matter who the person is arguing with you have to go after the majority opinion. Mimele, why is this? And that's where the main principle of the Chassam Sofer comes in. Why is it that the Torah says Achrei Rabim Lehatos? We should always go after the majority. L'chorah, it doesn't make sense. If you have 2 giant Chachamim, 4 giant Chachamim, and 20 the Chachamim, but not as on such a level, why don't you listen to the greatest Chachamim? Because the Torah says HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there with you when you do the right thing. When you listen to the majority, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will turn things around, that it's going to be what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. Even though potentially it doesn't make sense to you because you have great Chachamim there, you have to listen to them. Don't say 2 chachamim or 4 chachamim. You have 25 chachamim. And you have 27 chachamim saying something else. But the 25 are much bigger than them. We don't listen to them. We go after the majority opinion. Why? Because the Kodesh Baruch Hu says, I will be there. I will conduct things in the manner that I want. Mimele, even though those 10 people were great people, but Lemaisa, you still have 14 people against you, and you should have listened to the majority opinion. And that's the Taina on Klal Yisrael. It comes out that somebody who does not follow the majority, he as if declares, I don't believe HaKadosh Baruch Hu turned things around, that's how it's going to happen, and that's a choser emunah. That's mamish a lack in emunah. It's one of the principles of the Torah. It's a decree. According to
the other opinion, not Rabbi Akiva, the one that says that there were only 12 Meraglim. So what was the Tana and Klal Yisrael? They didn't listen. They listened to the majority.
Soon we'll see what the Taina is. Moshe Rabbeinu davens for the success of Yeshua. And why didn't he daven for the success of Kalev and the other Meraglim? Famous Shaila with many, many answers. I think we shared in the past some. But the Maharal says, and if you say, how come Moshe Rabbeinu didn't daven for the success of Kalev, just like he davened for the success of Yeshua, says the Maharal, Yeshua was the Talmid of Moshe. And it's very disgraceful and shameful to the Rebbe that people will look what your Talmid is doing. He probably learned it in your class. You probably taught him. It's very, very derogatory. Since he is that Talmid, Moshe had to daven that he's going to be successful and not going to embarrass him. The Kli Yakar says the same thing because he was his Talmid, Shelo Yakdiach Tavshilo, he's going to go sour and people will say, well, you know who the Rebbe was. It's got to be because of the Rebbe. And therefore he felt that he needs to daven specifically for him. But the Kli Yakar writes another reason. Moshe was afraid of the Yichus, the dynasty, and the genes that Yeshua has. From what Shevet does Yeshua come? Who's Ephraim? Yosef! Yosef has already a history of Dibara saying Lashon Hara. Mimele, says the Kli Yakar, is afraid, I don't know about his DNA. His DNA is programmed to Lashon Hara. He's got to have a special prayer, extra Siyata Dishmaya, and therefore he davened specifically for him. Why didn't he daven for the other Meraglim, at least for his brother-in-law? Kalev is his brother-in-law. Kalev married Miriam, so it's his brother-in-law. You don't want to daven I don't know why, family feud, I don't know. Daven for the other Meraglim. Says the Meshech Chochmah, Moshe davened only for Yeshua because Yeshua was a symbol of Gvura. He fought against the Amalek and he beat him. And if Chalila, he will go after the Meraglim, it will weaken Klal Yisrael. They will lose any hope. If he, the great warrior, the great follower of Moshe, if he says negative words about Klal Yisrael, there is no chance, they will lose hope. The Be'er Basada explained, Moshe was afraid Yeshua will be drawn after the advice of the Meragil because he is so loyal to Moshe Rabbeinu. Because there is already a nevuah. Eldad Umeidad had a nevuah that Moshe Rabbeinu is not going to bring Klal Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael. So we got to keep everybody outside. So I'm going to follow what the other Meraglim say to keep everybody outside. So Moshe will continue to be the leader. The Targum Yonasan ben Uziel says, "V'kadchama Moshe and v'sanusei the Yeshua." When Moshe saw that Yeshua is such an anav, he called him Yehoshua. What's the connection to the anava of Yehoshua? In other words, because he is so anav, he needs a special bracha. And he gave him a new name, and he davened for him. Ka Yoshiacha me'atzas HaMeraglim Baruch Hu should save you. What's the connection? So the Avnei Shalom explains, since Yeshua was such an anav, when the Meraglim are going to say something, he's not going to go against him. Who am I? Who am I to fight these 10 people? These are great people. So once he saw he's such an anav, he needed special chizuk, and that's why he davened for him. Sefer Sarasi by Medinos, he answered that, a new shita. He says, since Eldad Umeidad already had prophesied that Moshe will die, Yeshua is the one bringing Klal Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael. Yeshua was such an anav. He didn't want that. Yeshua is the one who said, Adoni Moshe Klaim, put him in jail, lock him up. Mimele Yeshua is an anav. He doesn't want to be the king. We said before, he wants Moshe to continue to be the leader. On the other side, he also doesn't want to be the king. He is just an anav. Who am I? I'm just a Yeshua. Mimele, I got to keep Klal Yisrael outside, and maybe I should follow the Meraglim, and that's why Moshe feels it's necessary to continue and to add more prayers for the success of Yeshua.
It's actually what the Rav said a minute ago about we don't have the majority together and all these kind of issues. We did find it doesn't seem to be the case many times. Like, for example, you think when this state was set up, on one side was Sakmar and Shach and so on, and Agudash Israel, they were probably the majority, but the people were told differently. They still stick by their opinions and so on. It's not like everyone goes after the majority of the body.
First of all, this applies to the Sanhedrin. Second of all, did you count the numbers? Do you know who the majority opinion was? I don't think you did. You took the numbers, but it only applies to Sanhedrin. So I think every year when we get to Parshas Shelach Lecha, there is some kind of a feeling of a missed opportunity. Am Yisrael were so close to getting into Eretz Yisrael, a few days away, and because of their sin, they had to stay for 40 years in the desert, and so many people would die. If they would enter Eretz Yisrael without the sin of the Meraglim, maybe the entire history would be changed. So the question is, what really, and that will answer your question, what really was the sin of the Meraglim? Lemaise, they were requested, go into Eretz Yisrael, tour the land, spy, and come back with some information. They were asked to do this. So what is their sin? So were they punished with Klal Yisrael because they said the truth? This is what we saw. There are many, many explanations. But Maseches Tamid, Daf, Leiv, Lamed Beis, there's a story. Alexander the Great came to the elders of the south and he asked them, I want to travel to a country called Afriki, somewhere in Africa. Could you please tell me how to get there? And the elders, the Chachamim there said, impossible. You won't be able to get there. It's beyond Harei HaChoshech, a certain region, great mountains. You won't be able to get there. Alexander the Great said to them, listen, I didn't ask you if I'll be able to go or not. I told you I'm going. So I want to ask you, how do I get there? And they said, oh, okay. So take specific donkeys. They told them which type of donkeys. And take some ropes. And they told him how to do it. And you'll be successful. He took it. He got there. He was successful. Why did the Gemara tell the story? And why did the Gemara say that initially they said, you won't be able to get there? But when he said, I didn't ask that. I asked how to, not if I'll be able to. So then they said, oh, sure, this is how you do it. It seems that the message is, there are missions that seem almost impossible. Not shayach. If one hesitates and he asks, will I be able to do it? He won't be able to. But if one is determined to be successful, he just asks, tell me how to do it. A person that can succeed. When the elders saw that Alexander is determined, no matter what, I'm going. I'm just asking you for the tools, how to do it. They realized there's a great chance that he will succeed, and therefore they told him how to do it. That is exactly what happened with the Meraglim. Moshe never asked them to say, will we be able to be successful to get into Eretz Yisrael? I never asked you that. What I wanted to know, HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised we're going to go there. HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised he's going to give us the land. So of course it's possible. All I want to know is, tell me how the land is built. Tell me where they sit, where is the army, where are the tanks. I just want to know how to conquer the place. Not, will I be able to or not? This is so exact in what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe at the beginning. Shelach Lecha Anashim. V'yatu et Eretz Canaan. You should stop right there. Send some people, I want them to spy, but the pasuk continues. Asher ani noisen libnei Yisrael, that I am giving to Klal Yisrael, which means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I'm promising you, I'm going to give it to you. So just send the people to tell you how to do it. Don't ask him if it's possible or not, because I promise you. Mimele. That was the sin of the Meraglim. They went against the mission. The mission was just to report back how to do it. Not, is it possible? Nobody asked you if it's possible. HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised. You're going against the HaKadosh Baruch Hu's promise? And this is somewhat similar. That's why we don't listen to them. We don't listen to the Rishaim, even though they're majority. This is somewhat similar. There's a Gemara in Brachot Daf Samech and many other places in Shas. The pasuk in Parshas Mishpatim says, "V'rapo yerape," the doctor shall surely heal. And Chazal say, "Mikan Shenitna reshus laroife lerapos. From here, verapo yerapo, he shall surely heal, double language. The doctor has permission to heal. Because lichoira, he shouldn't. If a Kodesh Baruch Hu made a person sick, for whatever reason, a person sinned, so Kodesh Baruch Hu can heal him. Why are you intervening? Let the person do tshuva and he will be healed. But no, Kodesh Baruch Hu says, doctor, you have permission to heal. And the Rishonim already write that the doctor has permission to heal, but the doctor does not have permission to cause the patient to despair. Oh, you don't have a chance. You have 3 weeks to go. Enjoy the last 3 weeks. Chas v'sholom. In fact, the Rosh writes in Baba Kama, in the beginning of Perek HaChoivel, v'tzarich shiyeh lachoyle koiras ruach me'arofeh. The patient's treatment, the patient's whole process of healing is going to be much faster, quicker, better, and more of a chance if he believes in the doctor, he likes the doctor, he has a good relationship with him. If he doesn't trust the doctor, if he's afraid of the doctor, he's intimidated by him, he's not going to have siyat dishmaya. The Rosh, Rishonim, tzarich shetiyeh lachoyle koiras ruach me'arofeh. So it's somewhat similar. Nobody asks you to cause people to go to despair. Chas v'shalom. You have to give them the tools how to do it. You're not a Kodesh Baruch Hu. A Kodesh Baruch Hu gave you permission to heal. He didn't give you permission to cause depression.
Where does the Rush say? Where?
What's that?
Where does the Rush?
At the beginning of Perek HaChoiv in Baba Kama. Parshas Shelach Lecha, spies are sent. Parshas Chukas coming soon, spies are sent. What is the job description, the role of a spy? I think the job description should be to expose and to reveal hidden secrets and to share them with others. Shabbos Daf Peiches Amud Beis, the Gemara says the Torah can be a drug of life. Sama dechaye lamayminim ba. Those who go to the right, it's sama dechaye, drug of life. Those who go to the left, chalila, can be the opposite. What does it mean, sama dechaye? What does it mean, lamayminim ba? Those who go to the right. So you always make a right. What does that mean? Rashi, asukim bechol koicham, utrudim ladas soida. Those who engage in Torah study with all their might, and they are bothered to know its secrets. It sounds like the Torah has all kinds of secrets, and you have to delve into the Torah and try to expose, reveal those secrets. It's a big chiddush in the Meshech Chochmah, at the beginning of Parshas Tumah, Perek Chav Zayin, he writes, for Talmud Torah derabim, one has to be willing to be moiser nefesh to die. He explains that that's why Rabbi Akiva, in Brach of Daf Samech Aleph Amud Beis, was gathering people publicly, even though the Romans said, don't do that. There's no mitzvah to gather people publicly in Times Square and teach them Torah. You can do it in your basement. You can learn one-on-one, via Zoom. Why do you have to gather everybody to the street? But Rabbi Akiva saw this Meshech Chochmah, maybe. Meshech Chochmah says, one have to be moiser nefesh for Talmud Torah derabim. The Gemara in Brachos Samech Gimel says, en divrei Torah miskaimin ela b'mi shemeimis atzmo aleha. You have to be willing to die. What does a spy do? He goes to foreign territory and he's willing to die. Mesirus nefesh. Yeshua was punished because he didn't engage in Torah study in the middle of the war. But there's a war now. Yeah, but what about Torah? Mimele, about Moshe, the Mechilta says, why was the Torah called Torahs Moshe? Pasuk in Malachi, Zichru Torahs Moshe. Because he was moiser nefesh on the Torah, therefore the Torah is called Torahs Moshe. If that's the case, we have to be spies. That's the job description. To reveal the secrets of Torah, to share them with others, and to be willing to be moiser nefesh for Torah. If we are supposed to be spies in Torah, how come you don't daven for it? Do you ever daven that your spying mission should be successful? I think we do. Every single morning. Birkos HaShachar. Yehi rotzom lilfanecha Hashem Elokeinu. Shetargileinu b'torasecha. We normally understand shetargileinu. We should be regular. That's what we do. No, targileinu from the language of meraglim. Leragel. To be a spy, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I want to be able to excavate all the depth of your Torah. To share them with others. And I want to have the siyat dishmaya. I want to have the courage to be willing to be moiser nefesh for your Torah. Maybe in a different way. This bracha v'targileinu b'torasecha. In Shabbos Chav Gimel Amud Beis, Chazal say, haragil b'ner, havil en bonim talmidei chachamim. What does that mean? Haragil bener, he always lights a candle. The chida over there in Pesach Enaim says haragil means that he does things more than his chiyuv. We made it based on that. We can understand v'targilenu means I want to be able to do things more than my chiyuv, more than my koichos hanefesh. I want to go all out for Kodesh Baruch Hu's Torah. Maybe in a different way. V'targilenu b'Torah means targilenu is a loshon of regel, legs. And here there's a remes to what Chazal say in Pirkei Avos and Shabbos Kuf Mem Zayin as well. Havei goyle lemakom Torah. You have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone and go for the sake of Torah. Which means you're sitting in your comfort zone, in a shul, air conditioned, everything is great. And you open the sefer, it says, go look and listen to the sefer. You have to get up, use your legs, go to the bookshelf, take it out. Allow me to use my legs for the sake of the Torah. Megillah Daf Chaf Aleph, the Gemara says, from the time of Moshe Rabbeinu until the time of Rabban Gamliel, they used to learn standing. V'targilenu, it's all about the legs. It's a Shulchan Aruch in Reish Pei Beis. If you hear the Sefer Torah, not only if you see the Sefer Torah, if you hear the Sefer Torah passing by, you have to stand up. You didn't even see it. See it, of course you have to. For the honor of Torah, you have to stand up. Chazal say in Soita Memtes, Shnei Chachamim, Shnei Talmid Chachamim, HaMehalchin Baderech, people who are walking, Talmid Chachamim, HaMehalchin Baderech, Ve'en Divrei Torah B'neihem, and they're not speaking Divrei Torah, they should be consumed in fire. So it's all about the legs. The Tosfos in Maseret Ksubis Samech Gimel, the Derechu, it's a natural way. The one who goes to learn, B'hoylech Lilmod, Shenasa Adam Gadol. You just need to have aspirations. You need to walk. You need to go there, not to be lazy. Maybe it's a bracha in Kodesh Baruch Hu, I don't want to be lazy. Give me the koyach, give me the courage to do what I need to do for Talmud Torah. A different way, Yerushalmi, Masechet Shabbos, Perek Aleph, Halacha Daled. Tani b'shem Rabbi Yosef, Shoine halachos roglios. What is this word? Halachos roglios. Pnei Moshe explains, Oitan shehu ragil bahen ve'eino tzarich le'ayen bahem kol kach. Those things which are, he knows them, he doesn't have to look into them so much. Rashi in Brachos Chav Beis uses the same language. Regiliois, Mishnayos, Hashguros Befiv, Shehu Metzian Bimrutza ve'en tzarich le'arich bahen. In other words, we say v'targilenu b'sorasecha, we want to have divrei Torah coming out of our mouth. We're used to it. And therefore, if it's ragil, we're not going to chalila stumble and do something wrong. And that's why right after that we say, v'targilenu b'toratecha, what's the next word? V'dabkenu b'mitzvosecha. We want to cling to your mitzvahs, because if the halachos are ragil, Mimele, we won't stumble on your mitzvahs. But this is all about divrei Torah. In learning Torah, we say v'targilenu b'sorasecha, but regarding mitzvahs, we don't say v'targilenu b'mitzvosecha. There we say v'dabkenu. We want to cling to the mitzvahs, because mitzvahs have to be done with kavana. You have to be doing it with excitement, with enthusiasm. You can't just do the mitzvah that, that's what I do. Check mark, been there, done that. Chas v'sholom, autopilot. You can't be in autopilot mode. Mitzvahs have to be clinging to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I understand I'm doing now Ratzon Hashem, not mitzvahs anashim melumada. Mimele, this whole bracha is that we don't want to do the mitzvahs. It's something which is a burden. It's hard for us with dabkeinu. The mitzvah Hashem, we should be zoiche lehisragel. Whatever targilenu b'sorasecha means, according to all these perushim. Riddle of the week. What's that? There is here and there is in Chukas. Open up. We learn about the Mekoishesh in this parsha, right? The one who gathered wood on Shabbos. Riddle of the week for Shabbos. Where do we refer to the Mekoishesh every single week? Kiddush, Shabbos morning. You do Kiddush Shabbos morning. Where is the Mekoishesh referred to in that Kiddush? Can it be? Can be? What's that?
Why would it be?
I don't know. You tell me. You're saying the whole Kiddush. You don't have to say the long one. There's a short version even. Mechilta. That's in Kiddush? Says the Mechilta, Al kein be'ach Hashem es yom HaShabbos vayekadsheu. What is be'ach? Be'ach baman. He blessed them with the money. He got double portion on Friday. Vayekadsheu v'kitshe b'mekoishesh. So every time you say this, he sanctified the Shabbos when punishing the mekoishesh. Every time you say vayekadsheu, you're referring to the mekoishesh. Tzitzis. Some big chidushim on tzitzis. Tzitzis are worn at night or daytime? Daytime. Why? Ureitem. I can't see at night. Right? What about if you are in a room where there's a lot of electricity, candles, you are able to see. If it's dependent on seeing, ureitem oto, you can. It's not dependent on nighttime. It doesn't say uvalayla, don't wear it. It says ureitem. Meaning, if you can see it at night, should you wear the tzitzis? Sounds like a funny question, right? Who asked this question? Rashi! Rashi doesn't ask. Rashi says, in Sefer HaPardes, which is attributed to Rashi, Rashi says, Lifnei haner, if you have candles lit and it's nighttime, chayav betzitzis gam balayla kemo bayom, you chayav in tzitzis. You heard a chiddush like this? Chassam Sofer, in his Agaos, the Shulchan Aruch Or Chaim, Simin Yudches, brings a sma from Choshen Mishpat Simin Hey. At night, when there are candles lit, you're allowed to start the din. Choshen Mishpat, we learned that you don't start Beis Din at night. If you start it during the daytime, you can continue at night, but you don't start at night. Says the sma, but wait a second. If there's light in the Beis Din, even though it's night, you can start. Says the Chassam Sofer, and the Sma says, if that's the case, even though regarding din, it says in the Torah the word yom, during daytime, and yet, says the Sma, you're able to start at night if there is light. How much more so regarding tzitzis, because tzitzis, the Pasuk doesn't even say about day or night. It just says, it's dependent on you seeing it. Ureitem oto. Mimele, you can wear tzitzis, you have to wear tzitzis, like Rashi says, at night, if you have light. Mamish unbelievable. Asks the Chassam Sofer, wait a second. If you're right, Rashi and the Sma, how come in Kiddushin the Flamidalit we learn that tzitzis is considered a time-bound positive mitzvah? It's not. If it's dependent on light, so turn on the light 24/7 and you always have to wear tzitzis. How come Chazal called it in Kiddushin the Flamidalit? A mitzvah aseh shezman gama. It's time dependent. It's not. So Gilyoni Hashas, he leaves it with tzarich yom. He leaves it with a question mark. The Gilyoni Hashas, in Shabbos Chav Zayin, he answers and he says, it's pashut. You're right, maybe you turn on the flashlight, you can see the tzitzis, but others can't. Nighttime is a time that you don't have lights. So they can also turn on the lights like I did, but they have to do something. The definition of night is a time where there is no light, and even though the next person is going to turn on the light, and the other person, but there are many people who still don't have a light, it's mechusar asiyah, you still have to do something in order to have light. Mimele, at nighttime, we're patur from wearing tzitzis. Kiddushin.
Depends if you have techeles also?
What's dependent if you have tcheles?
Does it, the Ureisim also only when there's techeles?
No. Ureisim also goes on the mitzvah of tzitzis. And when you see the tzitzis, Rashi brings the gematria of tzitzis with the knots is 613. Nothing to do with the color. Have tzitzis, gematria of tzitzis, add the knots, you have taryag, because it reminds you of the taryag mitzvahs in the Torah. The tcheles, Chazal say, takes you to the heavenly throne. That's a specific thing. That's not regarding seeing the tzitzis and remembering all the mitzvahs. That has to do with the strings, whatever color you decide to have them.
Well, not that we have electric lights all over town, all over countries and so on at night. This reasoning of others can't see.
No, wherever you are. It's also not Shabbos. When we start Shabbos tonight, in the States, it's still nighttime, it's still Friday. It's for them, wherever it is. Where you are, if it's nighttime, you're exempt. Except if you hold like Sefer HaPardes, like Rashi. Another big Chiddush, maybe even bigger than the previous one. This is gigantic. Rabbeinu Chaim Paltiel is one of the Rishonim, Talmid Chaver of the Maharam Mirutenberg, and therefore it carries a lot of weight. And he says, Tema, why is the Pasha of Mekoishesh right next to the Pasha of Tzitzis? What's the connection between the two? V'yesh loimar, this comes to tell you, Shehamesim chayavin betzitzis. People who died are still chayavin tzitzis. But where'd you get that from? Because the tzitzis has the weight corresponding to taryag mitzvahs. Because he brings this gimatia of tzitzis plus the nuts gets to taryag. But Chazal darshin b'meisim choifshi. Kevan shemes Adam nasa chofshi min ha-mitzvahs, you're not chayav in mitzvahs. Says you're right, except for tzitzis. Hainu chutz min ha-tzitzis, that you're still chayav. And therefore he says the minhag is that you take the tzitzis of the person and you put them in the coffin with the niftar. And you tie them to the talis in order for him to carry the tzitzis with him. But he said, but you see, they open up the knots. They don't leave it like that. He says, yeah, because we rely on what Masechet Smachos says, that Abba Shaul ben Bitnis commanded his sons, take my tcheles off my garment. So you'll say, Lo Eglarash, you're mocking a person who's not here. Why are you not allowed to have your tzitzis hanging out when you go to the cemetery? Look, I can do mitzvahs, you can't. He says, Lo Eglarash, we don't have here because this mitzvah corresponds to all the mitzvahs as the passage Uzechartem is called mitzvah. You didn't remember all the mitzvahs? That's where it ends. It's not like, okay, but we're going to, that's where he ends. He says, people who are dead are still chayiv in the mitzvah tzitzis. If that's not the biggest chiddush you heard this week at least.
You said the Vilna Gaon was crying, because you said, specifically said, after that I cannot even tzitz like I do.
First of all, you can say, if the Gaon Mivina holds like Rabbeinu Chaim Meltiel, that you're still chayav, but you don't get any reward because you don't have chiyah chofshis. Or you can say the Gaon Mivina doesn't hold, Rabbeinu Chaim Meltiel, the world doesn't hold like this, the mitzvah, of course the halacha is not like this. But even if he would hold like this, lichora is not a problem, because you don't get rewarded for things you do after. That's what he says. They tear it off, but they leave it there. But the minhag is not like that. I asked once, Maran Reb Chaim Zatzal is a person from Chutz La'aretz who asked me to ask him, should he put his tzitzis hanging out? He lives in a neighborhood in Chutz La'aretz where the majority of people are not chavedim there. There are many goyim around. Should he worry? And Reb Chaim says, worry of what? We're not talking about pikuach nefesh ala. It's not pikuach nefesh ala. So I said to him, Rebbe, so you should put them out? He says, of course. You're allowed to put your tzitzis out even in Chutz La'aretz. If this was not big enough of chidushim what we heard until now, another one, coming from Rishonim. Should you put more than one tzitzis? Are you able to put more than one tzitzis?
Yes.
How many should you put?
101.
Every what? Every beggar is a mitzvah. So what do you recommend? I should settle for one, go for 10, go for 150. We know a certain person used to do it.
101.
101. Why 101? Gematria Michael. Why not 26? Gematria Yud Kei Vav Kei. 72 is Gematria Chesed. Why not MS 441? No problem, right? Ralbag! Some say the Ralbag is the grandson of the Ramban. So we show him. And the Ralbag says, why does the passage say, Ureitem oto? Oto velo oto vechaveiroi. Ratza lo imar. En ra'ui la'adam she'yisa yachad shnei talisos metzuyasos, says the Ralbag, you're not allowed to put two. Doesn't say isu, he says en ra'ui. It's not the right thing, because the passage says, see it, one, and not it and its friend, not more than one. Pele adir. Kitzur, Hilchos Sefer Mekor Chaim and the Aleph Chaim both wonder about it and reject it. But the Ralbag many times has fascinating insights in his Perush on the Torah. Many things which are against Lichoira, what we normally in normative Jewish practice, but has a lot of weight. It's Ralbag.
Why did Rabbi Scheinberg do what he did?
That you have to ask him? We don't know. He didn't share.
101, no, he used to say.
150. 150.
150.
Velo pasuru acharei einechem. Don't stray after your eyes. A riddle. Can it be that one didn't listen to this pasuk? And he did. Stray after his eyes. Because of that, he would lose a monetary case in Beis Din. He goes to Beis Din and asks him, you're careful in Shmiras Einayim? The truth is not so much. So you lose the case. You're careful in Shmiras Einayim? You win. Two people, Reuven and Shimon. They come, and just because Reuven is not careful in Shmiras Einayim, he would lose money. How can this be? Halacha l'maaseh. What's that? Shmiras Einayim. He's not careful, not looking where one should not look. Sneers wise. A chidish from the Och HaShulchan. He brings from the Taz. Choshim Mishpat Shin Tzadi Gimel Seif Gimel. He tells us a story. Maiseh Be'isha. There was a woman who came into her neighbor's house to bake and to knead. I guess her oven wasn't working. She came into the neighborhood, excuse me, can I use your kitchen? She said, sure, no problem. She's kneading the dough, and she folded her sleeves, rolled them up, so she'll be able to work without getting dirty. As soon as she did that, the men in the house, right away, they didn't want to look at a lady whose sleeves are not sneeristic. The goat of the balabos came in and ate some of the dough, choked and died. Who's chayav? Who's chayav to pay? Excuse me, balabos, why don't you take care of your goat? Al-Khashur brings on the Taz. Since the Dayanim saw that these people are tzaddikim, they don't look. Mimele, they're not obligated to look at the goat and to check that to see whether everything's okay. She's responsible. The woman is responsible, and she has to pay compensation. Continues the Aruch HaShulchan and says, Omnam, im yadua shebnei habayis en muchzakim betznius kol kach. But if we know these people in the house are not so careful, the shmiras ha'einayim, that they go away from a woman when she falls. She's just rolling up her sleeves. We're not talking about anything else. But if they're not so careful, en mechayvin oisa leshalem. Lady, you win, you guys lose. Why? Because you're not careful. Shmiras ha'einayim. Chiddush. Not only that, so you say, I never get to Beis Din. Baruch Hashem. One's Parnasa is dependent on Shmiras ha'einayim. Who told me this? Reb Chaim Palaji. Sefer Toichachas Chaim. Idarshin the pasuk. Einei chol elecha yesaberu. If einei chol, the eyes of all, are to you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you only do what you're supposed to do with these eyes, then the latter part of the pasuk is fulfilled. Ve'ata nosen lehem es ochlam beito, you'll have parnasa. If shmiras ha'einayim einei chol elecha yesaberu, mimele going to have parnasa. Maybe you can add to that. Einei chol elecha. If the eyes are all are to you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, mimele, don't read it yesaberu. Yesh baro. Bar is tvua, is grain. Each one is going to have his parnasa. Yesh baro. Each one is going to have his bar. If one is careful with shmiras ha'einayim. And in fact, the Torah ends and starts with it. How does the Torah end? Le'einei kol Yisrael. It's all about the eyes. If the eyes of Klal Yisrael to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so then the next word is Bereshis is bar ashit. Grain I will place, I will give. You will have parnasa if you use your eyes accordingly. Aboy say inyan de yoima. Reuven and Shimon, two friends, young men, and they go to the 8 o'clock minyan every morning. Reuven is on time, he's a yeki. He is there even a minute before. Shimon is late every single day. And it drives Reuven crazy. Why are you not more respectful to the tefillah, to Kodesh Baruch Hu's palace? Beis Mikdash here, we're davening. Why are you late every single day? One day at the end of davening, Reuven goes to Shimon and he starts yelling at him. He says, you know, you're so lazy. It's disgusting. Every single day you're late. It's a disgrace. And Shimon says, you'll see. Tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, I'm going to be here exactly at 8 o'clock. Reuven says, yeah. You know what? If you're here tomorrow at 8 o'clock, I'm going to give you $200. But if you're 1 minute late, you give me $200. Shimon says, okay, it's a deal. We shake hands. 24 hours later, 8 o'clock, Shimon appears! Exactly at 8 o'clock! At the end of davening, Shimon goes to Reuven, $200, please. Reuven says, wait a second. We both know why you got up this morning. At 7:45 a.m. there was a siren. You didn't get up for davening. You got up because you were afraid of the missiles. So you ran to the mamad, you ran to the shelter, and then 2 minutes before 8, you dragged yourself somehow. You barely can open your eyes. You didn't get up for davening. And it's clear that when I said I'm going to give you $200, it's not because I want to see if you can get out from the sirens. Of course, because you don't want to die. But for Kodesh Baruch Hu's sake, that you don't get up. So you don't get the $200. Shimon HaRabbi said, Dayani Mumchim, should he pay him or not? Yes. Why yes? Isn't it umdena demuchach? Isn't it clear to all of us that he got up because of the missiles? Isn't it clear to all of us that Reuven says, I'm committing myself to giving $200 if you get up for davening, Not because you couldn't fall asleep the whole night. Shkoyach to you. I want to see that as opposed to last week, 2 weeks, 2 months, that you're so lazy and you're always late for davening, that you get up for davening on time. Not because of the sirens.
Even without the davening, they've told him, you came because of the $200, I don't want to get from you. Because you didn't come.
No, but you got up. I want to see that you're able to get up for davening. That's not your motive. You know you're going to get $200 if you get up for davening. I don't believe you can get up. Davening is not important to you.
It's not getting up. It's getting from the point A to the shul.
Isn't it umdina demuchach that he committed himself to give him only if he's going to get up for davening and not for a different reason?
No, because the laziness is not getting up necessarily. The guy got up at 6:30, but he didn't get to shul till 9 o'clock.
He doesn't get up. Every single day he comes at 8:20, he can barely open the eyes.
Yeah, but the night before, he didn't know there's going to be a siren.
Right?
And he had planned to come there on time.
Every day he probably plans to go, but when the alarm knows where the snooze button is.
$200, he'll do it.
But it's not about $200, it's about the sirens. That's what caused him to get up.
You didn't know that yesterday.
Correct.
No.
But I committed myself to giving the money for getting up for davening.
No, how did you know that? He said, "Come. You have to come there exactly 8 o'clock." You came there exactly 8 o'clock.
You're thinking like the Chaim Kanievsky. This is not a new shayla from this week. Reb Chaim said in a case like this, you're right that you probably meant, I'll give you the 200 if you wake up for davening, but you never said it. And that's called Dvarim Shebalev. And Dvarim Shebalev, Einam Dvarim. If you want it to be part of the contract, you have to say it, verbalize it, write in a contract. You can't invent things even if you didn't say it. If Reuven would say, I'm going to give you $200 if you get up for davening, maybe there's room to negotiate here. But since he said, if you're here on time tomorrow at 8 o'clock, I'll give you $200. I was here at 8 o'clock. You're asking me, why did I get it? Dvarim Shebalev, Dvarim Shebalev, Einam Dvarim, and he has to pay him.
Even if he said for davening, maybe without the sun, he had put 7 alarms, and he would have come.
No,
in.
if I get up for davening, not if I get up and I'm here for davening. If you get up for davening, you didn't get up for davening, you get up for sirens. So if he would have said this and he would add this clause for the deal that they made, there was room to talk about it. But since he did not, and he also said, if you're here, I was here. Exactly right, as we discussed. And therefore I get $200. Aboy Sai, we are in a war with Iran. Why is Iran so interested in a war? What I'm going to say now, I didn't get from the heads of their government. The current president there, Mistama, he's no longer here. By the time we had the Shia already, maybe 5 or 6 different ones toppled over and we killed him. Amen. But this is in their heads, even with them not knowing this. They have no idea what I'm going to talk about. They don't know what I'm going to say, but this is emes lamita, because it's Chazal. Why is Iran so interested in this war? There's a Gemara at the beginning of Avodah Zarah. Daf Beis. Chazal say, what daf today?
We had it today.
Today's Daf Beis?
Yes.
Ah, Siyad Dishmaya.
Persia comes second.
Siyad Dishmaya. The end of days, HaKadosh Baruch Hu holds a Sefer Torah, and he says, all right, whoever did what it says here should come and be compensated. Come, get your reward. Romans come in, and thereafter, the Persians. Persians are Iran. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no. So what did you do? He said, what do we do? Shh. You know what we did for your people? We built them bridges. We conquered cities. We fought wars. It's all for Klal Yisrael. So they should be able to learn Torah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, kidding me. Why'd you build bridges? To take the tolls. Why'd you conquer cities? To enslave people, to take taxes. Wars? I fight wars. I conduct them. Shneimar, Hashem, Ish Milchama. What does that have to do with you? Everybody knows that all the money that Iran has and tries to get, it's only to do one thing. To build the most successful, strong, powerful army that they can. They buy more and more weapons and create weapons, and everything is against Am Yisrael. And this is all part of Galus Yishmael, which is Galus Paras. So it's time to be rewarded. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no. So what you do? And they will say, look, all the money that we have, we invested to fight. Only so your kids can sit and learn Torah. What does HaKadosh Baruch Hu respond? Wars. I conduct the wars. But why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu say shoitim? HaKadosh Baruch Hu should say shakranim, liars. I did the whole war from beginning to end. So they should be rewarded for it. How dare they come and say a lie to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And why doesn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu respond and say, you guys are liars? And in fact, if somebody doesn't see right now that the war is conducted by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he is 100% either blind or a complete shoite. Complete shoite. The miracles that we see on a daily basis, every day, all day long, you see HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hand. So who would think, oh, it's probably the Iranians, they're conducting the war. It's ridiculous. And at the end of the day, when everything is revealed, they also know it. So what were they thinking? The answer is in the future. Well, everybody in the world will see that all the wars, all the news that's happening in the world is only for one purpose. It's only one goal. So Klal Yisrael will sit and learn Torah. When Mashiach comes, everybody will recognize this. Vayhaya bayom hahu yeh Hashem echad u'shmo echad. So they will say, listen, so ultimately we helped that goal. We caused your people to do tshuva, to sit and learn. We want to be rewarded. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu will say, you fools, it's true that that is the war, but that's the last thing on your mind. I am the one conducting the wars, not you, and therefore you should not be rewarded. And there's a tremendous Musar Haskell and a message in this. We have probably around 1 billion of our neighbors around. They don't like us. Many of them live in houses which resemble more shacks than houses. They have only one thing in mind. Go and fight and try to annihilate Klal Yisrael. It doesn't make any sense. Because a goy who doesn't have to buy an expensive esrog and to build a sukkah and to do everything else can invest everything he has to have a nice, comfortable life. Instead, they're doing everything in their power, taking everything that they have, they're willing to sacrifice their lives just to fight Klal Yisrael. There are some goyim who live a very comfortable life. And they take money and they build mansions and they have a very comfortable life. But so many millions have only one goal in mind: destroy Klal Yisrael. Why is it? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu holds them like you hold a horse before you let go to go fight in the army. That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu is using them. He's using them in order to propel us to action. So if we are lax in the observance of Torah and mitzvahs, they are ready to fight. And at the end, it will be revealed that everything was for one goal, one cause: to bring us back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to further strengthen, intensify our bond with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Medrash says, Medrash Rabbah, in Dvarim, Parsha Aleph, Siman Yutes, Amar Rabbi Yehuda bar Shalom, Klal Yisrael said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono shel Olam. His father, referring to Yitzchak, blesses him, Al Charbecha Tichyeh. And you agree with him? Why do you allow him to succeed? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if you see him coming to fight, Birchu el HaTorah, run away, not to the cave, run away to Torah, and that is what's going to save you. Medrash Tehillim, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu to David HaMelech, David, Asok b'Torah, ve'ani elchom milcham moisecha. You will learn Torah, and I will fight your wars. Moshe Rabbeinu said, Besefer milchamos Hashem, Im atem oiskim besefer, Ani nilcham al yedchem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't need you to hold the arms. Yes, there is such a thing called ishtadlus, but that's not what wins the wars. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you open up the sefer, learn Torah, and I will conduct the war. That's why the pasuk says, Riva Hashem es yerivai lecham es lochamai. You fight my war, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. David HaMelech says. Medrash Yalkut Shimoni in Tehillim, Tafshin Chaf Beis. David HaMelech says, Hachzek magen v'tzina. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please, asks David HaMelech, hold the arms for us, hold the weapons, fight for us. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, David, v'chi lemagen v'tzina ani tzarich. You think I need weapons? Ruach echad ani nofeach bahem. That's all I need to do. Vehem polchim. And they will fly away. Shenema. Pasuk says, Yehu kamotz lifnei ruach. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does a small one. And they all disappear. So now, when there is a war, we have to go to the root cause and find out what caused this war to start. And when you do deal with that, the war ends. So the root of all wars, including this one, especially with Iran, is in order for Klal Yisrael to sit and learn Torah. There is no other reason. So for us to abandon the ship, imagine, there's a pilot. He says to the commander, I know I'm supposed to now fly to Iran and to bomb the nuclear. I want to work in the kitchen. What? You crazy? A person who leaves the Gemara now, when it's so necessary, I can't focus. I want to do something else. This is now your mission. We are all pilots now. About to, I don't know exactly how it's going to play out over there. What are we going to bomb? What are our allies going to do? But we are holding on to the most powerful weapon out there, and that's called Torah. And chas v'shalom, to abandon the ship. We have to believe in this. That the physical war to annihilate Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, it's not in us, it's not in our hands. It's in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hands, and he can do it instantly. When Sancheriv's soldiers came, there are 185,000 of them. They just didn't get up in the morning. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wiped them out. In a second, he can do the same to Hezbollah, Hamas, Iran, whoever it is that comes to fight his children. So when we know that that is our job, we have to make sure that we do the best job. In other words, it's not very complicated for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to wipe out all our enemies. What is complicated is to explain to us, to the Yeshiva Bachos, and to us, that the one who really conducts the war is that guy sitting somewhere, no matter where, by himself with the Chavrusa and learning Torah. He's conducting the world. One more Amar Abaye, one more Amar Rava can destroy all our enemies. When we truly cling to Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will fight our wars, and in Mitzvah Hashem, we shall see a decisive, clear victory on all our enemies with the Bias Goel Tzedek Bekarov B'Yameinu V'Noimar.
Should they all be here? Should Klal Yisrael be in Eretz Yisrael?
Whoever wants to do the mitzvah d'oraisa called Yishuv Eretz Yisrael can come and do it, but they can still learn Torah at other places as well.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's not dependent on that. It's dependent on learning Torah. That's another mitzvah. אחינו כל בית ישראל הנשואים בצער ובשביה. האוהבים דין בין בים ובין ביבש, המקום ירחם עליהם ויוציאם מצער ולבוכה, מאפילו לעיר ומשיבו לגאולו אשתו, בעגולו ובזמן קורי ונוימר אמן.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.